guys, what's up? It's Mary, and today I'm back with another college theme video, and today, since college orientation season is upon us, I'd like to share some of my advice and experiences on how to get the most out of your college orientation. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so in order to have a successful college orientation, you have to bring the right stuff. So this is more geared towards people that have overnight orientations, meaning that your orientation is 2 or 3 more days. So this is not so applicable for people that have day orientations or orientations right before you start classes. But you probably will have an overnight orientation. It's a very common set where your orientation is 2 days, especially if you're in the SUNY system, and especially if you're going to Binghamton University, which is where I go, and that's how I had my orientation. So in order to survive the overnight part of the orientation, you need to bring the right stuff. So the first thing I recommend is getting something for the mattress, because oh my god, I had like the worst experience in my dorm when I stayed there overnight for the orientation. The beds were like literal rocks, and I didn't bring an 8 carton or like a mattress pad. I didn't bring anything. I just put a sheet over the mattress, and it was like the most uncomfortable thing ever. It took forever for me to fall asleep, and then my back was like killing me the next day. Like it was like in so much pain. So please bring something to put on top of your mattress. Do not just sleep on it like it is with a sheet over it. You will be in so much pain. So you're probably going to get like an 8 carton or a memory foam mattress pad for your dorm room anyway in like a month or two. So you might as well just buy it early and bring it to orientation, because you'll actually be able to sleep and not be in tons of pain. So that's one thing I do recommend, even if it's just like you get like a really cheap one somewhere. Just make sure it is going to fit the twin extra large, because you're probably going to be sleeping on one of those beds if you are doing the option where you're going to be sleeping on campus. There's obviously, if you're sleeping in a hotel, you don't have to worry about it. But you probably do want to sleep in the dorm room, so you get an idea of like what you're getting into and how like the setup is and everything, especially you still might have time to switch dorm buildings. So if you, for orientation, you're stuck in one building, you're like, oh, I can't do this. And then you realize when you got selected for your housing, it's in the same building that you stayed at, and you're like, I can't do this. So you can always check with Res Life or something. So it's just really good. I do recommend staying in the dorm rooms overnight if you do have an overnight orientation and not doing a hotel, because it is very nice to kind of get like an idea of what you're getting yourself into. Another recommendation I have is also to bring like a sleeping mask and earplugs, because again, you put a lot of 17, 18, 19-year-olds all in like the same building and the same floor, and it's just a lot of noise and not a lot of sleeping happening. So if you do want to sleep, and you probably do, because I'm going to talk about the schedules later, but like there's a lot of getting up early, so you might want to get some rest, especially if you have a long drive in front of you or something. So I just recommend bringing some of those sleeping aids sort of things, and maybe if you want to bring like a Tylenol PM or like melatonin or something to also help you sleep more, I'd highly recommend that. Another thing I recommend too when you're packing, I recommend bringing not so much valuable things. Obviously, you're probably going to need your computer to sign up for classes the next days, or maybe when you're in the meetings with the academic advisors, you want your computer to take notes, and that's totally fine. But other than that, I really don't recommend bringing anything valuable, because you're going to be living with strangers overnight, and also especially if the roommate that you have has friends, and then there's people in and out. There's a lot of knocking on doors and people getting together. So just don't bring anything valuable, because you don't know these people. There's a lot of random people. There's a lot of in and out. So like don't bring like a camera or your iPad or like anything but your computer, and make sure you keep a good eye on it. And another thing I'd recommend bringing is just more for the social part, is maybe playing Cards Against Humanity or something, because it's always fun. There's not a lot of sleeping happening, so if you're one of those people that like to stay up late and you're like, whatever, I don't really want to, I can function with like 0 rest the next day, then yeah, it's a great place to like get to meet some new people. So like maybe bring Cards Against Humanity or like another like social game like that would be awesome. Because then, there's like a game store, and then you can like knock on doors and be like, hey, does anyone want to play Cards Against Humanity or anything? So that's just throwing it out there too. And one thing I do want to say too, I'm going to talk about this more a little later, but I'll mention it now while we're in the packing stage. Maybe you might want to pack like a cute outfit or something if you do want to try to go out, and I'll talk about that later. But you can always bring it. If you don't use it, then it's not the end of the world. So bringing like packing pretty light, but I mean, I'm sure like an extra outfit and like a nice pair of shoes or something is not going to like take up super amount of space. So now that we're all packed for orientation, we gotta do the homework part and the mental part. Alright, so now that we're physically packed for our orientation, now we have to do some of the homework side of it. So I know we don't want to be doing homework, especially because it's just started summer, and we just did the whole year of homework and research. The last thing we want to be doing is researching some things. But please, 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 just do some little research, especially because orientations when you're going to be making your schedule for the semester, and you're going to be meeting with a lot of professionals, so it's really the time to be asking questions, and you want to be asking, you know, intelligent questions. You don't want to be asking questions that you can just Google in like 3 seconds and get the answer. So on that note, I'd like to speak about your school's AP, IB, and college credit policies, because usually you can find that pretty easily on the website itself. If you literally just Google, insert school's name here, AP policy or IB policy. So I can't really speak so much about the IB policy because I never took an IB class. I know very well about the college credit policy and as well as the AP policy. So you should probably already have your AP scores by now because usually they come out by early July, and it's you know, still kind of early but mid-July at this point, so you should have your scores. So you should be looking at every AP class you ever took and the scores you have for that class. And you know, make sure you send that to your school. You probably already did when you applied, but just make sure you sent all of them to school, especially like when you're taking your APs this year, if you weren't sure where you were going, or you know, you got accepted last minute so you didn't write it on the test to send it to the school. So make sure you send every year's AP score to your school so they can give you the appropriate credit. But you should know what kind of credit you're getting because it'll help you make your schedule. So, you know, just go on your school site. Probably, it's pretty easy to find. I found this for Binghamton, like, super, like, easily, and I found that even when I was applying to the school. So, you know, just Google it and look at the chart and look at what classes you took and, like, line up, you know, what grade you got and see what classes you'll get credit for. So usually it's pretty standard though, because if you get, like, maybe you may not know, like, the code, like, it might be math 242, and, like, you don't know what kind that is, but if it's probably, like, let's say that's the course equivalent for AP statistics, that's probably elementary statistics. Like, it's pretty easy to guess, but you can also, too, look up what class it is on your university bulletin, too, because they probably already have the fall schedule classes out. Because remember, all the upperclassmen at your school already registered for their classes, like, in mid-spring, so they already have the schedule of classes for the fall. That isn't just, like, a new thing that they create, like, right before orientation. So it is out there. I don't know how easy it is to access it without being in the system, so that maybe might get a little harder, but, I mean, it's pretty easy to guess what classes those are and how the AP scores, because, like, obviously it's not going to be, like, Calc 3 for, like, credit you're going to get for taking the AP Stats, like, exam. Like, that doesn't even make sense. So, you know, just use common sense and look it up ahead of time. Because especially, you don't want to be asking these kind of questions when you're at orientation, because first of all, you don't have that much time with the academic staff, and when you do, it's only like an hour, and there's like 200 people in the same room with you, all asking questions and stuff. And you know, like, they're professionals, and they're there to answer like intelligent questions. You shouldn't be asking them, I got a blah 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 on my AP IB exam, what class do I get for that? Like, that's like something you can just Google, and like, you probably might already know that too, especially when you're applying to the school. So like, that's just wasting everyone's time. But like, a good question would be like, oh, I got 4 on my AP Calc exam, and I know that I would get awarded the Calc 1 credit, but however, I have to take Calc 2 here, and I'm not sure if I'm totally prepared for that class. Would you recommend me taking it again? It's like, that's a good question, because like, you're asking something that's specific to the university, and you're acknowledging that you already know what kind of classes you have and you've done your homework. Like, that's good, and that's not wasting everyone's time. Maybe I'm just like a little pet peevish about this, but like, everyone on my orientation was like asking like, I got a 3 on my AP Stats exam, do I get my elementary statistics credit? And it's like, yeah, you do, because it's like right on the chart, like online, that you can like look at. Or it's like, oh, we're with the pre-med advisor, and the people were still asking like, oh, I got a 4 on my AP Calc AB exam, like, do I get the Calc 1 credit? Like, there's someone like, especially like, they're so like specific professionals, like, you shouldn't be asking them like super broad questions. Like, you should be asking them like something that pertains to like, that will help you get into that certain graduate school, not like Binghamton's universities or whatever universities policies are on like classes. It's just like, it just gets really weird, and like, people have been asking like sometimes like the stupidest questions, and like, maybe it's just me because like, I like to do a little research before, but I do highly recommend doing that, because especially like, you look smart, and then especially like when I was asking like intelligent questions, like, people were like turning their heads, like looking at me. Like, I don't know, it's just like, you do leave like a good impression, I guess. You're not just asking like stupid questions and wasting everyone's time. So hopefully this doesn't get too ranty, but please, 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 just do like some homework, so at least you know like what kind of questions to ask, and so you're not wasting everyone's time, and you're not wasting the professionals' time. They're there to answer, you know, more questions that you really need them for. Like, they know more about the classes here, and, like, they don't really matter, like, or care about, like, the bureaucracy that happens at your school determining what letter or number on your test give you what credit. Like, they don't really care about that. They care about, like, helping you and making sure you're on the right path in college. So that's one thing I highly recommend. Another thing I recommend too is maybe seeing if you can get the schedule for your orientation ahead of time, so you can see how much free time you have, so you can kind of evaluate like what you need to do. Like, for example, if you want to set up a banking like account through like a bank on campus, you need to see like if you have any free time to do that, or like maybe you should go a little earlier the day before. I know sometimes you can't get the schedule before, and like I couldn't, and that was very annoying because I got it like right when I walked in. But you know, just Google again, or check your emails, or maybe emailing, you know, New Student Life, because there's usually like a department in your school dedicated to like taking care of like freshmen and stuff and like the orientation process. So maybe email them, see if you can get the schedule, because it's super helpful too, because you can get to see like when you have time to do things, because there's a lot of things you need to do during orientation, like on campus, especially if you need to visit like different offices and stuff. And unfortunately, orientation can keep you super busy with like the most stupid stuff. Like, I'm sorry again, like, but like, it's just, my orientation was just like the most boring and like wasteful, unhelpful thing ever. But like, maybe your orientation is different, but like, they keep you super busy in general though, because I don't want you to have too much free time, but you do need free time to do certain things. So maybe like looking ahead of time so you can kind of schedule, maybe call ahead to the office you need to, you know, figure out and check out, and maybe you can get an appointment during that free time that you know you have. So that's, again, just like some basic research that will really help you go a long way in making the most out of your college orientation. Alright, now that we're physically packed and we did our homework, now I'm going to talk about stuff we should do while we're on campus during orientation. So for this part, I kind of want to talk about things that you should spend energy and time on, and things you shouldn't focus on that much during orientation. You should save for when the semester starts. So the first thing I want to talk about is friendships. So I know, especially if you're going to college when you don't really know anyone, you want to meet all these new friends, you want to make your squad and everything, and you think orientation is going to be a great place because you're going to meet all these new people. So I did meet new people during orientation, and I thought, like, I was going in, like, I'm going to make so many new friends and everything is going to be great. But, like, honestly, even though I talked to people and stuff, like, especially the way my schedule was made for the orientation process, like, I was switching groups, like, every hour. Like, I was not seeing the same group of people, like, throughout the whole orientation. Like, I'd meet this one person and I would never see them again for, like, the 2 days. And I'm like, this is really weird. So that kind of sucked, and, like, I ended up making, like, no friends. I talked to a few people, but, like, it didn't really, like, evolve after that. Like, maybe if I was with them the whole 2 days, we would have became, like, really good friends, but, like, an hour, especially when it's, like, 30 minutes of icebreaker, and then it's, like, we're walking all over campus, and then, like, oh, you gotta go to your new group now. Because especially, too, like, at orientation, it's everyone, and so everyone has different majors, they want to do different things, they're living different places. So, like, it just gets really hard to find someone that matches up with your activities every day, like finding someone that's your major, lives where you're living, is doing all these special classes, is in these concentrations. Like, it's very hard to find, like, a person just like you unless you, like, photocopied yourself or something. So it's difficult to make friends, especially from my experiences on the Binghamton University orientation. So that is a little bit of a downer, but trust me when I say, like, you're going to make all your friends, like, within, like, the first week of your school. So, like, there's really no pressure to be doing it during orientation, and don't feel, like, ashamed or sad. It's like, oh, I didn't meet, like, any friends, like, this sucks, I'm going to go in alone. Like, don't have that attitude. Like, honestly, it's not even really your fault. It's the way your orientation's scheduled if that does happen to you, if you're switching groups all the time. And, like, even, too, like, people that I did meet during orientation, like, I never spoke to them or saw them again during the semester and the year and stuff. So I just really wouldn't recommend putting too much pressure on yourself to do that and investing too much time and energy during orientation to do that, because especially that's going to happen so fast and so easily when the classes start and you're moved in and stuff. So just don't worry about it, and don't be too down on yourself when that doesn't happen. But one thing you should be putting a little bit of time and energy to is finding a roommate. And I know this is really weird because I'm, like, talking about, like, oh, don't worry about making friends during orientation, but find your roommate that you're going to live with a year. So there is some reason behind my madness. I kind of want to suggest this is because, like, when you're staying overnight for orientation, again, I know everyone's orientation is different, but if you do have an overnight orientation, you're probably going to have a roommate or 2 or 3. It really depends on the how they run the program, but at least you're going to be sharing a room with one person unless you have like some medical reason why you have to have a single or something, but for the most part you're going to be having a roommate. So, you know, maybe you should kind of like branch out to them a little bit and talk to them, like see, you know, if you two are compatible, or like they do something that makes you uncomfortable, or like they keep the room super messy and stuff. So like just kind of keep an eye out for that, and do like try to engage with them a little bit, because especially if you don't have a roommate already, or you did random, you know, maybe this person could be your roommate for a year. Like, could you see yourself living with this person? Like, you know, and the devil that you know is kind of better. So like you don't want to have like a random person that could be 20 times more worse than this person here. But I mean, if they do stuff that makes you uncomfortable, and like whatever that may be, or they don't respect your space or your things or anything, then like obviously no, like you don't have to be roommates with the person you're randomly roommates for orientation. But you know, like if you guys click very well, you can always like, you know, try to be roommates. Or, you know, like, you're like, okay, I can tolerate this person, or they seem really cool or something, or they seem like they have a lot going for them, or just, like, something that, like, draws you to them and you think you could be able to live with, then, you know, you might want to suggest having them as a roommate. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying, you know, it's definitely going to happen, but, you know, do try to talk to them, too. And, like, as an overall, like, I guess, thing I could say for orientation is, like, just try to be friendly and opening and welcome and try to talk to people and engage with people, but, like, don't, like, put so much pressure on yourself, especially, like, if you don't really meet people, or you feel like, oh, you're very quiet and stuff, like, just don't be too hard on yourself. Like, do try to be open for conversation and stuff, but, like, don't force yourself on people, or, like, you know, put on this fake personality so you can meet new friends, because, like, honestly, it's not worth it, because you're going to just meet so many people when the semester starts. So, I just really want to throw it out there, because I was very down on myself for not, you know, having so many new friends or stuff, or not doing as many, like, activities, like, social activities, like, during the late hours when I should have, like, you know, when I was sleeping. So, like, please just don't be too hard on yourself, because I was. But, yeah, so, like, now that we kind of survived orientation, I'm going to talk about the last part, especially about the social life, about going out. Alright, so this is a topic I want to talk about that I talked about earlier, but I want to kind of talk about again, when, like we were saying about packing. So this is kind of going out during orientation. So, again, this really depends on what kind of orientation you have and where it falls. So, like, obviously, if you have an orientation on, like, a Monday, Tuesday, there's probably not going to be much happening, but if your orientation is on, like, a weekend or something, then we can kind of open up the possibilities about, like, kind of going out. So I recommend, like, maybe if you might want to go out, or going out's your thing or something, then, like, you know, just, like, pack an outfit or something that's, like, kind of cute. So, if you're actually going to do it, though, I personally didn't go out for my orientation, because especially, I think I had, like, a Monday, Tuesday, and then, like, I was, like, exhausted, and my schedule was just, like, I had to, like, stay out, like, until, like, 11 in activities, and then I had to wake up at, like, 6. So usually your orientation will make a schedule to make it, like, very hostile to partying, because they, like, will literally keep you busy, like, every minute, and then, like, they'll give you, like, 5 hours of sleep, and they'll wake you up again, because they really don't want you partying, because they really don't want to be, you know, responsible for that, because God forbid things happens, you know, at orientation and stuff, they don't want to have to deal with it, so they kind of build that into the program to kind of prevent partying, but I'm not saying it's not going to happen. So I don't really know if people did party at the Binghamton orientation, because again, like, there was multiple orientations. I was on, like, a Monday, Tuesday one, and I didn't really know anyone going into it, so I can't really speak for Binghamton if that happened. But, like, in general, for college orientations, like, in general throughout the country and whatever, it might happen. So, a good place to start is maybe seeing, you know, if you go on the school's Yik Yak, maybe there'll be some information about that, or go on the Facebook page and checking out the frats and whatever. Maybe they might have something, so first you gotta, like, find it, and, like, I don't know, it might be, like, a rash thing, like, maybe your roommate will know something about that randomly when you go to orientation. So that's one place to start. Another thing, too, I'd recommend is, I really wouldn't recommend going out and partying, because especially since they keep you super busy, but if that's your thing, just make sure that you're safe, because especially if you're in a place you've never been in before, because usually you aren't home for when you're doing a sleepaway kind of college orientation. You know, just getting an idea of, like, the city or wherever you kind of are. I just really wouldn't recommend, you know, going alone to do that, or if it's something kind of, like, sketchy, like a frat, like, some frats are not safe, or really, they're kind of sketchy, like, you don't know what they're putting in their drinks or anything. So there's just a lot of factors and stuff, like, I mean, especially you have your whole semester and year and 4 years to party, and, you know, you can kind of get more of the inside scoop of, like, what's a good frat, what's a bad frat. you know, when is it safe to go out, when are the best nights to go out. So like there's really just, you shouldn't put too much pressure on going out on orientation, because especially you have like 4 years to party, and party smart and party safe. So like I really want to recommend it, but if you do, you know, make sure you have like a buddy, maybe your roommate or something will go out. So yeah, hopefully it wasn't too much of a buzzkill, but I do want you guys to be safe, because especially like if you're anywhere in like New York State going to any of those SUNY schools, like those places are sketchy. Like, ooh, like when I'm out in the city of Binghamton, that place is sketchy, and like I don't even know, like Albany's sketchy. Like a lot of those places are just sketchy, and I just wouldn't even recommend it for like a person that's never been there before. Just go out, and again, you have your whole 4 years to do it and find good places and stuff. So I really recommend it. I wouldn't recommend doing it. You know, just stay inside, you know, get to know people on your floor or something, or like sleep, because like you're gonna probably be like exhausted, because they like make you do like 20 million activities, and they wake you up the next day to 20 million more activities. So that's just my honest opinion. But obviously everyone's opinions and experiences are a little different, but hopefully that was at least a little helpful on kind of shedding light on that subject. Alright guys, so that's all. I hope this was super helpful. I made this on a little bit of the short side, because college orientation is pretty short and pretty self-explanatory. Like, you know, you go make your schedule, you go through a million consent activities, and then like you do some icebreakers, and then you're in some academic meetings. So like all that stuff's pretty set, but I kind of want to talk about things that I wish I knew when I was going in. And hopefully this is pretty applicable to you guys, or at least one or two things are. I know everyone's orientation is different, and everyone's going to have different experiences, but hopefully this is at least a little bit helpful, and especially to you guys going to Binghamton University. This was pretty catered off my experiences that I had there, especially the overnight 2-day orientation and some of the experiences that I had there. So hopefully that was very helpful to you guys. And even if you're not going to Binghamton or a SUNY school or anything like that, hopefully one or two of these things were helpful. And yeah, so bye guys!